And here we are with Watermelon and Marc Emery. Marc, thanks for joining us.
Hey, I was just thinking, though, that I'm one of the few men who have never seen you naked in our social circle.
Back to the real part of the matter.
No, we were talking about this earlier, and I thought, I guess I am kind of hinting or cadging for something here. I'm not sure what kind of acknowledgement we're talking about.
Flutter,
I've known you for about 6 years. You've performed at lots of our events and throughout town, and I'll walk out of the room and come back, and they say, they all got naked. I'm going, well, who did? Watermelon got naked. I'm going, what? And I'm
not in the cards.
I'm going, how does that happen, right? So it's like when I lived in Asia. People would complain to me all the time about, you know what? I heard people having sex all night long, and I couldn't get to sleep. And I'd go, I would kill for those people. That never happens to me anywhere. I'm the kind of guy that would actually love to hear people fuck all night long in the next room, and it never happens to me. Right, never happens to me, right?
It's
and I'm thinking, isn't that something? Like, to me, that's
is.
still an exotic fantasy. I mean, people going, all night they kept me up, and I'm going, I would kill for that.
Exactly.
Right, so it's the same sort of situation, I think the suspense of waiting 5 years to see you naked is probably much bigger than the actual event itself.
Oh, right, it could be.
There you go.
Exactly.
Hey, it's your show. What you were saying?
75% fantasy.
Coming back to me. It's been a crazy
Have you seen Hilary's breasts?
Speaking of my other fantasies, no, and that's a bit more indecent because Hilary's worked for me, and so you're a bit more patriarchal about people who've been mentored by you.
What am I, chopped liver? I've worked for you on occasion.
You've contract jobs. Like I'm hiring you to expose your talent, whereas I was actually almost a surrogate older brother father.
Okay, I'm getting a little warm here, and what I really like to do is talk about the big heat that was next door a couple of weeks ago.
I've seen Hilary's tits.
Okay, so here's the thing.
What happened next
we're 3 weeks after the big fire now.
Yeah.
3 weeks today, and we still don't have power to the very building where it's amazing. This is all done by
This is all
generator.
generator. Good
It's
thing
all
we don't
generator.
need pot growers, and their gear.
We're not going to get a hookup to the city for another 6 to 8 weeks, so we have to keep running a generator, which is causing difficulty for Pot TV. But it's very frustrating because we only have one phone line, a temporary one instead of 4, and we don't get that for 6 to 8 weeks.
Messages.
And but in the meantime, we're still renovating. The place is cleaner and brighter and has more stuff in it than it's ever had before. We've been working nonstop to make it a much nicer, cleaner, prettier place. We got a hemp grocery store opening this week where you can get anything you ever saw made of hemp. Hemp flour, hemp coffee, hemp butter, hemp cheese, hemp drinks, hemp everything. We're going to have it upstairs this week. And refrigerated items, frozen items, and prepackaged processed hemp items. We're going to have a hemp cosmetics center with hemp lipsticks for women to try on. Can
we come in and get makeovers?
Yeah, makeover, yeah.
Makeover.
See, that's maybe the angle I've been missing in order to accomplish
You
my
need a
desires.
hemp beautician.
Yeah, so,
hey, Bethan's a makeup artist.
Speaking of my third fantasy, but she knows about that, so it's cool.
One more,
and now
an episode of Golden Girls.
Now we all know about it.
So
the Phoenix comes out of the fire, and fabulous things are happening.
Well,
here,
fabulous things are happening.
And
people have given over $2,000 to the BC Marijuana Party through PayPal, and that's been terrific. Because even though we work hard at the store selling things and selling product all day long to help pay for all our actions, I just want people to know that Beyond Prohibition, a very successful conference we put up, where you were a presenter,
Senator
the Mayor
Nolan
Campbell,
and the Mayor,
that
great.
cost us $15,000. Phil the Hill's costing us probably about $25,000. The generator alone for this building, unfortunately, well,
a couple $100 a day.
Oh, that's about $8,000 a month. $8,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, none of this.
Wow.
I'm not sure any of this is recoverable. We didn't have insurance, so we always have lots of activism. The marijuana marches around the world cost us about $20,000 too, and those are just things that have happened in the last 4 or 5 weeks. That have required basically $80,000-$90,000 that we put out. So when people give money, it's really helping us cope with our ability to continue giving like a big load of money to the movement and stuff like that. So I just want to acknowledge that people have given $2,000 through PayPal. That's really cool.
Thank you. Good. And you got the election coming up.
Yes, the election.
Tell us what's happening around that.
Federal election, at the federal level, there's a bit of a strange thing going on because I've been telling everybody to support the NDP because I think the key thing is we're not loyal to a party, we're loyal to the movement. So what's best for the movement? What's best for the movement is to bury any ideological differences. I mean, after all, I'm a libertarian, you wouldn't typically find me drawn to supporting the New Democratic Party, a considered social democratic, socialist party possibly. But for me, it's more important to bury all ideological belief and go with the group of people who are established in Parliament who can represent our point of view on these issues. And Jack Layton has come to my home. He's filmed it. He said he believes in legal possession, legal distribution. You can't really get better than that if you're looking for someone who's going to represent those views in Parliament. So I believe we should all support him in the election that's coming up, and we should find out who the new Democratic Party candidate is in each person's riding in Canada, and make sure we get out and take friends to the polls. Like, don't just go and vote yourself. Find out two people who have never voted before. It'll be so easy. Yeah, that's most young people. Find them and make them go to the vote with you. And then after that, people should organize little parties in their own community to have where everybody who's invited is the person who voted that day. Hopefully it's the New Democratic Party and their legalization position. And let's try and get as much clout in Parliament as we can. Unfortunately, Marc Emery, so the Canadian Marijuana Party, still wants to protect the parties as a value, as an asset. And so they're running candidates, but the candidates they've chosen are really annoying, like Mark the cookie person, who we probably tried to ban from the store several times. And I mean, these are bad candidates, poor choices.
Remarkable Mark.
Yeah, and so I don't like the fact that they're soliciting candidates in British.
Hey Mark, why are you running for the marijuana party? So I can sell my cookies? Right, that's a great reason to get into politics.
That's what he told me. And so what happens is all the quality candidates have already sought NDP nominations, and in the absence of getting them all, Alison Murden got her nomination in Oakville. But in the other place, we promised to help the candidate we ran against, right? Because we want to establish some degree of loyalty within the New Democratic Party, so they feel a good vibe about carrying our issue forward throughout the entire party, not just our people whom we've managed to get in places on the executives or as candidates, but to show we're good foot soldiers worth allying with, that we can bring the vote out, that we can maintain a sense of, organized, consistent unity in supporting the NDP, and show that we're valuable allies and that they should represent us in Parliament vigorously, right? So I think attempts by the Canadian Marijuana Party to run in the federal election, I mean, what can they offer? They're not going to get elected. These are people that could get elected. I mean, stupid, remarkable Mark, the candidate for the Canadian Marijuana Party, is actually going to run against Libby Davies, which I want to absolutely throttle him for, because it's ridiculous. Libby Davies is the most helpful member of Parliament for our culture, and she might win or lose by 50, 100, 200, 500 votes, right? And it just burns me up. So that Mark Boris is just calling around, and anybody who's living and breathing, he's willing to run as a candidate. And I find that very annoying and very distracting, because I think the movement in a lot of places has been very focused on getting our message through with the NDP. And we've got much bigger outreach. We've managed to propagandize and lecture thousands and thousands of people of the NDP who would never have heard of our issue, but we've joined their associations, tried to get nominations. We've been active. My arrest in Saskatoon, which was at the behest of the NDP, we got lots of coverage nationally. People know I was out there lecturing to support the NDP. It was in all the papers I spoke to. So, we've been doing really well that way. So the election's going to be called in a few days. It's going to be for June 28th in Canada, and it's really important that young people get out and vote for the NDP, because typically young people are the victims of prohibition, and they don't vote, and we've got, for the first time in our history, a national party leader who says he'd like to legalize possession and the distribution of marijuana. And then, next May in 2005 is the BC provincial election, and we are running 79 candidates for the BC Marijuana Party, because there are no anti-prohibitionist voices at the provincial level.
God knows we got to get rid of Campbell.
Well, Campbell, but the NDP arrested more people in the previous regime before the Liberals than any other regime. We do have a very ignorant Solicitor General right now, Rich Coleman, a barbaric and bad man, and who may, in fact, if Gordon Campbell doesn't do well in the next election, be the party leader for the Liberals, which is shocking, the real extremist dinosaur wing of the Liberal Party. But the NDP prior to that, under Udall Dosanjh, actually arrested more people than ever before for cannabis possession. Udall Dosanjh is a bad man too, who's now running for the Liberal Party. And so we have very poor representation in British Columbia at the provincial level for our issues. In fact, no representation. However, I'm hoping Dana Larson has the NDP nomination for Sunshine Coast, and Chuck Byer in Port Edmonton. So various members of our community are preparing themselves to get NDP nominations in the next. So maybe we can change that party, but it's a tough road to hoe. Provincial NDP governments are not that sympathetic to us, except Howard Hampton and Peter Cormos, the leader of the NDP in Ontario, and Peter Cormos, a wonderful representative in the MLA from Welland, are both totally in favor of legalization, have come to our meetings to tell us. So we are making political connections. There's a good fellow named John Lord, who's a member of the Legislative Assembly in Alberta representing Calgary, and he's totally sympathetic to marijuana legalization and ibogaine legalization, and has made statements in their legislature saying so. So, Mayor Campbell now is clearly and loudly on record. So, we're making inroads at federal levels, at provincial levels, at municipal levels, and that's what running as a party is all about, leverage. To get them to steal our issues. When somebody does a good job of taking our issues, we have to support them. We have to make it worth their while. So, of course, I won't be running against Larry Campbell in the next election. I've told everybody I'm going to support him for mayor. He's a good guy, enlightened, forward-thinking person. We absolutely have to re-elect him next year. So I don't need to run federally, I don't need to run municipally, but I'll be running provincially. And when we get good people at the provincial level, then you can support them too.
Great.